Hello, hello. Hi, dear ones. We're back with our monthly tarot for the collective. I was gonna go live on YouTube, but it didn't work. So if you're watching the replay on YouTube, this wasn't even live. I had to do it on Instagram. I'm coming on today to share a little bit from the tarot for this upcoming eclipse. I won't go into the astrology of things because I'm not an astrologer, but as some of you know, I am a tarot reader, and I try and do this every month where I kind of show up here or on YouTube and I share a message for the collective. A lot of the messages that I receive just come from my intuitive and my psychic guidance, but I also utilize the cards to guide me and to help women, and I think the collective in general, not just women, and help people navigate the Aquarian age with all the messages that I'm getting through the tarot, through my intuitive guidance and my psychic guidance. So if you're completely new here, this is what this type of streams are all about. Hi Anna. Explain please why I'm falling apart. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting into. I actually want to start this live with it's completely normal if all of you or some of you are having anxiety right now, or feeling like you're just feeling restless, or things are not working out. You know, some people associate things not working out with them failing or falling apart, or their life not just being together, right? And the thing that's happening right now is there is an acceleration of consciousness that's happening for all of us, whether you are spiritually inclined or not. I always say this, whether you are an empath, a sensitive or not, you feel it, and everyone is feeling it. And those who are the most rational mind inclined are feeling it even more, and are feeling it even like having a harder time navigating through all of this, simply because we're changing on the vibrational level right now in the collective, not just on a personal level, but in the collective. And the earth is changing its vibration, the collective is changing its vibration, and that's why it feels like we're falling apart, and that's why all those anxiety is there. That's why there is the restlessness. A lot of people are coming to the realization that the things in their direct outer reality don't make sense, and a lot of outdated things right now are going to be falling apart, or are going to be falling away rather than apart. And one of the messages that I received for the collective for this eclipse, for this month, again, I'm not going to go into astrology because that's the astrologer's job, but the eclipse and the energy of September is just so intense. It's number 9, right? It's the 9th month of the 9th year, and 9 is always kind of a number of completion, or right before completion happens. That's kind of how it works in the tarot. Every card that's like a number 9, it's like the moment before you reach a completion. And that's kind of what is happening right now in the collective too. We are, some of us at least, are feeling that moment before something like a cycle fully completes, or that moment before we step into this big new chapter, whether it's positive or negative. Positive or negative doesn't exist. Everything that's happening to you is serving you in one way or the other. Start perceiving things in that way, okay? Don't think of things as, oh, this is negative or this is positive, or hi, this is, the things are as they are, and that's one of the big shifts in the collective consciousness that's happening right now, is that while we're going through this acceleration, just like imagine something spinning at a very high speed, right? While we're going through this acceleration, the good and the bad things just start to kind of collide and to almost merge and enmesh, where you can't really tell, okay, like things are falling apart, as Anna was saying, things are falling apart, and yet there is that anticipation for something that's about to emerge or be born from whatever is crumbling right now, right? And that's one of the things that we'll really, really feel this month of September. And I'll share the card that I pulled for the collective, and it's the Hanged Man. Very interesting, very one of the most like outsiders characters in the tarot. I think the Fool, the very first card of the tarot, is one of the main outsiders, right? But this one, he's the Fool is the main outsider, I think. But the Hangman is one of those characters, just like the Hermit, where he's very difficult to be understood. He's very difficult to understand, rather. He's very difficult to relate to because he doesn't follow the crowd. He's basically just suspended in a state of surrender and allowance. And look, he's not really in distress, right? If you really look at if you really study the imagery of the card, he's not hung by any other, he's not hung by the neck or whatever, right? It's his foot, and he seems to be pretty relaxed in where he's at. He seems to be just observing what is happening around him, and it looks like his arms are tied up behind him, but it's almost like he's like, okay, like I'm open to see what happens and where this will take me. So the Hanged Man is the card that showed up for the collective this eclipse season that we're about to enter, and this Virgo season, this last months of this year, number 9. And with the Hanged Man, I think there's just so much. There's so much. Seems like my grandma is watching me too. Yeah, that's so cute. Hi, Mom and Grandma. So with the Hanged Man, you're really being asked to allow things to happen, allow things to run their course. That's one of the main things that the Hanged Man just is teaching us, is to allow what is. And I if you look at my previous, we have the Temperance card show up over and over again. If you look at my previous cards for the collective, you'll see each time I kind of almost share similar messages. So you'll see that I say similar things simply because we are in a constant shift, in a constant journey of evolution. So a lot of these messages are repetitive. Sometimes I get messages for the collective and I'm like, oh, this is like exactly what I was talking about like 2 months ago, right? And then I realize, oh, of course, it makes sense. We are in a constant journey that doesn't end in a month, doesn't show up in with a new season, doesn't show up with a new moon or a full moon or whatever, right? So this whole idea of allowing is really, really big with the Hanged Man. It's surrendering, yes. It's also no longer following what some of us have been following out of obligation, whether it's a life path that we chose out of obligation or because someone told us that this is the life path for us, or this can also be related to your own expectations of who you are, who you're supposed to be. So for example, if you feel like I spent all these years thinking that way or having that type of perspective on things, I can't suddenly change my perspective, or I can't suddenly change my my opinions, right? Because I've been standing by this specific law, internal law or internal rule. So it's noticing where are some of your inner things just extremely outdated, and you'll see some friendships will start to mirror that, where you're like, oh, okay, like some relationships in general, not just friendships, right? We're talking about all the spectrums of relationships that we experience in this human experience. It's relationships, romantic relationships, it's friendships, it's maybe work relationships, where you start to notice some form of dissonance or some form of disconnect that you can't really name, or you can't really put your kind of finger on, or however you would express that, right? You'll start to notice that you need to let go of certain things, but there will be resistance too, because you're like, oh, okay, but I can't like let go of this person or let go of this friend or this relationship because I've been doing this for so long with this person. We've been so long, like we've been together for so long, like I can't just give up right now. We have kids, or like, oh, this friend of mine I've known since kindergarten. I don't think this is a good idea to just like let go, and I don't want any conflict and all these things, right? I'm noticing that being like a big topic right now in the collective as well, and people that I work with friends, even in myself, where I'm like reevaluating, okay, what are my values around my relationships and friendships? Sometimes it's sometimes sitting down and reflecting on your social life or your friends and relationships life. You get a lot of information on how some of those connections are just not in line with your values, and you still try and make things work, right? So the Hangman is all about just like dropping any attachments or any clinging to specific things, and just allowing things to unfold this month the way they want to unfold, because I feel like all of us will receive a lot of information by the end of the month of September. Beginning of October, we'll receive a lot of information on many new things. So don't try and cling to things that are quietly slipping away or slowly slipping away. Allow them to go, okay? Even if it does involve grief, and it involves sadness, it involves you questioning your place and your how do I say your role in that situation or that relationship. So so allowing things to slip away if they have to, because once we reach the end of the month and the end of the eclipse season, we'll have a lot more clarity. For now, it's really really important that we just observe what is and allow things to unfold. Surrendering is a big message. So don't try and push too hard this month. Don't try and make things happen. Don't try and save relationships or save friendships or save this and that, or prevent things, because you're gonna just clash with the energy of the universe. And because and while you're clashing with it, it's gonna become even stronger. The resistance is gonna grow, and then the universal force or whatever force will push even harder against you, and then you're gonna have a bit more of a chaotic time this month, all right? So make sure you don't push against the stream and the current that is occurring energetically for you. So things are not working out, you release your grip a little bit and allow things to just like move more naturally. You don't need to be in control of everything. Again, really looking at this guy who's just hanging there, and he doesn't follow what the crowd is saying either. That's another aspect of the hangman that I really, really appreciate, and I'm always inspired by. I feel like he's a reminder that we don't have to follow the crowds. And I talk about this a lot on my Instagram too, where we don't have to constantly compare our lives to other people's lives, and we don't need to listen to other people, what they're saying about where we should be at, or how we should be at a specific age or at a specific phase of our lives. It's really important that we create our own reality, and that's one of the things that we'll start to realize this month too. Many of us will start to wake up to the fact that, a lot of the things that I'm doing in my everyday life, or a lot of the things in my outer reality, doesn't fully coincide with my deepest desires, with my my actual wishes, because I've been just following a template, right? I'm sure many of you will come to that realization this month. And with the hangman, it's really important that we take everything with a grain of salt. And again, that's something that I talk about a lot on my profile, because I've been on this crazy journey all of my life, where there was a lot of influences from outside constantly, and I was constantly questioning everything, being like, okay, I don't think I want to take that advice from that person, because I don't want to live their lives, right? And each time I encourage you to bring that into your own life, where when someone gives you advice on how to live, how to be in relationships or in your marriage if you're married, how to be with your children if you have children, how to be in work, what type of work you should be doing, what type of career is the best career, any financial advice or anything like that, all of these like more tangible things that people love talking about, don't take their advice if their lives aren't a mirror or aren't a reflection of what you truly desire. Because a lot of the people have a lot to say about, where you should be in life right now, or what life should look like, or what life actually is. A lot of the time they're, first of all, not really happy with their own lives, and second, they probably don't live a life that's exciting, that you might want to live yourself. So a lot with the hangman energy, comes that almost like rebellion against the status quo, or rebellion against the templates that we've been fed from an early age, from school, from our parents, from the older generations. Right now everything is falling apart. The older ways are no longer working, right? And we're all noticing it. And this acceleration of consciousness that's happening in the collective, it's also making us realize that we need to completely release control of the things that we think we're in control of. That is another hangman aspect, where you're being reminded that you're actually not in control. So the harder you push, the more things will seem to be falling apart. So this eclipse season is all about really riding the wave. And another aspect of the season and this card that showed up when I was contemplating the collective energy is soul contracts. So a lot of you will start to kind of tap into different people in your life, and you start to notice, what a karmic contract that you have. If you don't know what that means, karmic contract is basically like a soul contract, energetic contract, that you come into this life, into this into this lifetime, into this reincarnation, and you have like almost like an energetic contract with a bunch of people that you meet throughout your life. Sometimes they're romantic partners, sometimes they're very close friends, sometimes they're our parents, but it's this type of relationships that are very tough, that can be very toxic sometimes, that are not necessarily lovey-dovey. A lot of romantic relationships are actually karmic contracts that we have, and they're very difficult to cut cords with. So they're very difficult to let go of, or they're very difficult to navigate. You feel very triggered by the person, but you love them. You know, if it happens in friendships or with our family members, it's like, oh, I love, it's my mom or it's my dad, but I can't stand hanging out with them sometimes. And it happens a lot that our parents are actually our karmic, not partners, but our karmic contract people. So I see there's going to be a lot of reflection about that in the collective this upcoming month, or this specific month of September. And allow yourself to sit with all of this and be like, okay, does this person actually, is someone that I want to hold on to, or am I just self-sacrificing to keep this friendship alive, or to be on good terms with that person? Or maybe it's an ex that keeps coming in and out of your life, that's never getting you anywhere, that's never leading the whole situation anywhere. Really sit with those extra challenging relationships is what I'm getting as a message too. Some people are experiencing dreams with like ex-partners that they haven't talked to or haven't seen in a very long time. So that is also part of this energy of the eclipse. That means that your dreams are showing you and telling you who is still a big part of your energetic field, because as you know, all of our ex-partners are part of our energetic field, even when we no longer talk to them, no longer see them. Even those of you who never think about your ex-partners, what happens when you enter a romantic or intimate relationship with someone, they leave imprints on your energetic field. And there are very specific practices that you have to do to fully clear that, so you no longer have them in your energetic field. Sometimes it can be challenging, slightly harmful to have those people in your energetic field. Other times, it's not a big deal, but I always encourage especially women to clear their fields of their previous partners. And there are practices that we do in Kundalini Yoga that help that. So this month, I think what's also going to happen, the first question that I got from Anna, who was like, okay, why is my life falling apart or something like that? Why am I falling apart? This is something that will keep kind of moving forward and expanding in different directions, that will feel like, okay, I'm falling apart. But you'll start to also realize that what's falling apart is an old version of you. And there is an enmeshment and a clash of timelines that will happen. And I'm trying to really put it into simpler words to explain to you what I mean by that. A clash of timelines can happen when you are with, energetically speaking for now, when you are with one foot in one reality of who you are, so your past self, and then with the other foot, with the other foot, you are in this new chapter, right? In this new reality, or this new version of yourself, and both feet are in completely different timelines or lifelines, and it can feel very confusing. And I'll try and elaborate a little bit. if I can use some examples or some real life things that it might feel like you have one reaction come up, for example, from your inner world, right? You have one reaction that comes up when you're speaking to someone. Say if you have some emotional things, right? If you're an emotional person, you're an explosive person. I'm going to use just like some examples that are more extreme. Say you're an explosive and emotional person. Something happens in your outer world where you're ready to explode and you're ready to either yell or however to react, right? But then something happens in the moment as you're doing this and you suddenly realize that this is your reaction is not actually helping the situation, or your reaction is not actually solving the issue. And it happens in a split second where you suddenly feel like this is not the right way of responding to this. And your ego steps away because, reactivity comes from the ego. You want to defend yourself, fight or flight. It's all coming from the ego. And ego is useful in situations of survival. It's not very useful in communication and just like when you're talking to a person, when you're, in relationships, sometimes the ego can be in the way. But reactivity, that's the ego, right? So you start to notice in a split second, this doesn't feel quite right. It's not very comfortable in my body if I'm to yell at this person who did something, right? It doesn't feel good. You become more sensitive to your own inner world, and that's when the timelines start to clash. When you're kind of undecided about how to respond to a situation that's stressful, for example. I like using a situation from a very long time ago of my life. I was about 16 years old, and it's still such a vivid memory deep inside of me because that was a moment that was the most wow moment for me. And I since then I had many of those, but this was the most vivid memory that I have. So there was this was when I started doing some really deep spiritual work already. I started my practice when I was 16. I talk about this a lot. I started practicing meditation when I was 16, and I was also at the same time a party girl, and I was partying a lot and all the stuff. And one night I went out to a party with a bunch of friends, and I had a bunch of things in my bag. I had my little bag, and it was one of those fancy bags. I don't remember what the brand was, but it was a fancy, not cheap kind of bag. And I went out. It was a drum and bass night or something like that. So in those situations, you just throw your bag to the side and you go dance. And it turned out that by the end of the night, once the DJ was done, I noticed that my bag was stolen. So I had everything in there. I think at the time I didn't have I just had my ID and obviously my money and whatever I needed for the night. But someone stole my bag, right? And I remember just going through an internal scanning that happened within a split second of how I could react to the situation. Because there are different options, right? The first one is I could freak out and start crying or whatever you do. You're 16 years old. There's all these hormones and all the stress, right? I could start crying and start, looking around, calling the police, doing this whole, I could just look around and try and find it somehow, right? Or there's another option that I discovered at that time was to just accept what happened. And I remember just being okay, I'm gonna try and call my phone because my phone was in my bag. So I tried and called my phone, no one answered. So I just started taking the the next steps that will make the most sense, that's not reactivity related, that's not related to a stress response or like a response of like, oh my god. And when you're 16 and something like that happens, although you're a kid, it's still a big deal. Like I had my wallet and all the stuff in the bag, plus like the bag was fancy and all the stuff. So this is just a simple example from like my teenage years. And what happened was that everyone around me was stressing out. There were some people just being like, oh my god, this is like the worst thing that can happen. Like, let's find the asshole who like stole your bag. Let's do this and that. And there's all this like energetic stress. And I was like, you can stay calm. It's okay. Like, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. And I actually felt that internal stillness. And I was like, okay, I care about the bag, but it's not like a big deal. Like, it's not gonna shoot up my cortisol levels right now. It's like, okay, it's not great, but I'm also noticing I made that mistake. I left my bag, randomly, and there are like hundreds of people at this party. So you see, like, it felt awkward, first of all, because I was like, don't I care? My mom's gonna kill me, in a situation like that. But I just accepted. I just sat there and I was like, okay. And eventually, someone returned the bag. Nothing was stolen. I think I had some like snacks for the night in my bag. So they just took the food and some like necklaces from Zara or something that was like extremely cheap. But I had my ID. I had everything back. And then notice, like, what the hell? If I had freaked out, I have a feeling things would have turned a different way. But at that time, I just surrendered. I allowed what is. I was like, okay, this is what's happening. So I have no control over this. Someone took my bag. What can I do? Like, yeah, I can call the police. And is this really going to do anything? Probably not. So I kind of allowed the energy to settle. If you really think how your reality is being influenced by your inner world, right? So I allowed the energy to settle. Everyone else around me was freaking out. All my friends were like ready to go on a whole investigation. But I was like, no, let's just like drop it. And that's the big message here too for September, for the eclipse season. How can we just drop it a little more? So things just like settle and the universe can take care of it, or God, or whatever it is that you believe in, or things just working out. If you don't believe in anything, things just work out. They just get rearranged for you. And some people don't believe in this, of course. They're like, I don't know, this is coincidence, this and that. But honestly, the more you start living like that, and the more you're like in the hangman situation, where you just allow, you surrender, you observe your inner world. How are you reacting to every single thing that's happening in your life? Are you freaking out? Are you making a drama out of certain situations that aren't that important actually? The more you start to noticing what's happening internally, and the more you start to allow things to settle and be more in this position like this guy and just be like, okay, I'm gonna see what happens, you'll see how things will feel a little smoother. Hi Eden, hearts to you. So there's gonna be a lot of breakthroughs like that. That's like the timelines of you from the past versus you from the future, or the now, or the more like evolved version of yourself. That's timelines clashing there. And I have a feeling a lot of people will be experiencing this month. And it's an extremely important experience, because then you can really feel into the differences of like, okay, this is my past self reacting, acting, talking, choosing or making decisions, versus, oh, this is like the new version of myself that's slowly crawling out of her like den or whatever you would call it. And that feels a little healthier. It feels very unfamiliar, or it feels very new and almost intimidating, or I don't know, but trust that. I see this becoming like a breakthrough for many people on this season. And notice, how are you also giving your power away to certain, people, or even mind loops, thoughts, beliefs. Let's use again that example of a 16-year-old Kate who, really started to feel those results from all those meditations when my bag got stolen, right? I would be giving my power away by stressing out and being like, let's create havoc now because my bag got stolen. I'm going to talk to everyone. I'm going to involve the authorities. I'm going to do this and this and that and this. And I'm going to cry, right? Like, just like the idea of just like stressing so much that you're there in tears and you're feeling like your heart is like jumping out of your chest, right? So that's like giving your power away to a situation that you don't have any control of, right? So that's an example there, in the same context from that moment that I had when I was 16 years old, right? Not giving your power away is being so solid within yourself that you know where you're going, no matter what people are telling you, no matter what type of limitations might be coming in from the outside or from your internal setup. Because, as you know, we're all made out of beliefs that we hold on to internally, and then they become our reality, and they become the conditioning, and we become slaves to our own beliefs and the stories that we've been told and that we've been narratives that we've been living by. So giving your power away can also happen when you are listening to your own self-limitations, not just not just the outer world. It's not just the government that you're giving your power away. It's not just like the systems. Sometimes you're giving your power away to your own self-limitations or your own self-doubts or your ego. And just a couple of words about the ego that's coming through right now. Some people feel like the ego is, and it's something that my mentor taught me, one of my teachers taught me. It's an incredible thing that I realized at one point. Some people think, and this is correct too, that the ego is just the arrogant part of us, the one who's like wanting to fight or who's trying to prove a point, is the part of us that's so full of themselves and thinks they're special, right? Yeah, that's the ego, for sure, that part, yeah. But the other spectrum of this is also the ego. So the idea that, let's use an example. The self-talk that you sometimes have when you are maybe not, when you're feeling not good enough for something. And you're like, oh, I don't know, like I'm not, I don't know if I can take the next steps to like open my own business, or I don't know if I can take the next steps to like do this and that. I don't feel like I know enough. I don't feel like blah, 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 blah. That's also the ego, right? The insecurities. Someone used the example of like coming online and like doing whatever I'm doing here, right? Like talking, just like showing your life online. I'm not saying that it's for everyone, but it's something that I've unpacked with someone. They were like, oh, like I want to share things, but like the whole online thing is just not mine. I don't want to like show myself. I don't want to show up on live streams. I don't want to show up on in videos, on photos, and like parts of my life being shared. It's not me. It's, that's also the ego. Like, if you really unpack this, you feel that you're so special, or you're so, that putting yourself out there is gonna be like, like a threat to your ego, right? So sometimes this comes from a place of self-importance where we're like, oh, I don't feel like I can do this. Like the fear of failure can come from, oh, I feel like I'm so special that I won't allow myself to fail. right? If you really examine some of your insecurities or some of your things where you're like, oh, I don't think this is for me, I'm just not that type of person. That makes sense. Yes, I know. It's if you really examine that, you start to realize, oh my God, it has nothing to do with me being humble. It has nothing to do with me being just insecure. Yes, okay, maybe insecurities, yeah. But if you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and you start to really question every single thing that you are feeling insecure about, you start to realize, oh my God, my ego is just so, blown out of proportion that it makes me feel like I'm too good to fail, or I'm, too special to show up or whatever. Because the first layer is like, oh, I feel ridiculous. I don't know how to speak. I don't know how to be on camera. I look awkward. I don't know how to do. That's the first layer. But when you go deeper, it's like, oh, what, are you afraid of humiliation maybe, or embarrassment? That's totally the ego, right? I went on a whole tangent about the ego, but that's a big part of what's also, I think, happening this eclipse season and this September, where we'll be realizing a lot of these things, and the timelines that will be constantly clashing and becoming very enmeshed, that we'll have to take the right steps. And I feel like taking the big steps will happen in October. In September, with the Hangman energy, we really want to allow things to marinate and focus more not on executing big thank you, Eden, not executing big ideas, or not executing the big things, taking action the big things. No, allow your ideas to marinate. But when it comes to who you are in your everyday life, I feel like that's where the work is gonna happen a lot more than our work, our career, or outer world things, right? It's more like the internal stuff that will be where we'll be having a lot of these breakthroughs. So watch yourself. How are you maybe stepping into a new version of yourself, but you're too afraid because of a past self that's pulling you back and is telling you that's not you. Remember who you were when you were 6 years old, or when you were an awkward teenager? Remember this person? That's actually who you are. But then you're like, oh no, that's not me. These are parts of us that are still very much deep inside of us, just like the little girl, the inner child. And I keep using just girls and women on the stream, because mainly girls watching me. So of course, the inner girl, the inner child is still there. Of course, the awkward teenager, or whatever you would call your teenager, is still there. But these are all parts that we have internally, and they come out in different scenarios, in different settings, but they're not who you are right now. And I feel like a lot of us are waking up to that. And it can be the person that you were 2 years ago that keeps kind of pulling you back and be like, no, remember what happened 2 years ago to you. That's such a big part of your identity and such a big part of who you are. Remember the drama in relationships. This is how you do relationships, right? So no, allow this new portal to open. You'll have glimpses. I have a feeling everyone will have glimpses of this new reality, timeline, lifeline popping in, if it's not already happening this September. And explore that. Be curious. Don't go into the comfortable spaces. The ego is comfortable in what it knows, and it's comfortable in our past selves, our 2 years ago selves, 10 years ago, 20 years ago selves. And it's about letting go of that. And even if everything around us seems to be stuck in some past or some reality from, I don't know, generations ago, it's important to the individual inner work and create that new reality coming from within, rather than try and go out there. And although going out there is really important too, and changing things, but let's start with the internal stuff. So that's kind of the card for the collective that showed up, the Hangman. It's interesting, in the women's circle that we had, like with E and my two other friends, the women's circle that we had, I pulled the card for the circle, and it was the 10 of Wands for this new moon in Virgo that we just had. And it was a similar message of like narrowing things down, making sure we're not overworked, making sure we're not spreading our energy around everywhere and to be everywhere at the same time and do a million projects at the same time, really settling into ourselves. And I feel like with the Hangman, that's like a continuation of that message of the Virgo new moon. The Virgo is all about quiet work. The Virgo is about cleaning up spaces. So everything that I shared about friends and relationships, so really like maybe cleaning out some of your social life things, your friend circles will be important this month. And the Virgo is very much also about, yeah, you can relate. Virgo is also very much about being of service. It's a very humanitarian sign, so how can you think what your next steps in life, how can you allow things to marinate that are related to your next steps in life. You're not taking any big steps yet this month, but allow things to marinate. How are you serving your community, humanity, your family, anything that involves being of service? Not in a sacrificial way, but in a way where you're doing it because it lights up your heart, because it makes you feel good, it excites you. Follow those cues rather than, okay, I have to self-sacrifice and I have to go and help my friend move because this is what friends do, right? It needs to be like, oh, I would love to, help my friend with this. So like, oh, I'm excited about this and that. And there's going to be a lot of that too, where I think some of you will notice where you're pushing against your heart and your inner desire to do things out of obligation, and where are the things that you're actually excited about, that actually help others, community, and the world, even in the tiniest ways. Even if it's just one person that you're influencing, or one person that you're helping, or just one person who finds joy from what you have provided as a service, or just as an act of kindness. That's very Virgo too. So this season, really focus on those things. I personally am also thinking about all of these things, and I'm constantly contemplating my mission and my purpose in this lifetime. And one of the things that I'm starting this month, the 16th of September, is my Becoming Women container, where it's an intimate small group of women that are traveling together through 6 weeks with me, and we explore different spheres and topics of womanhood in 6 weeks, and we kind of rebirth together. And that's my favorite type of act of service. It's helping women grow. So if you're watching this and you feel like you want to go deeper on this journey that you're on with other women, consider signing up for Becoming Women. It's gonna be a very special journey where we will cover things like our missions, our purpose, some conversations around entrepreneurship, the blockages that some of us women carry around success, money, or just having a good life while doing things that we actually love doing in our work. We'll have a nutritionist come in, so we'll be talking about hormonal health and how can we optimize our health as women, because as you are probably seeing and noticing, a lot of what we consume, a lot of how our society is even organized, it's not in favor of women and women's bodies, and a lot of the stuff that's happening right now is damaging to our systems, is damaging to our nervous systems, first of all, the microtoxins that we're constantly being bombarded with. So I'll have a whole week on that, on yogic lifestyle and everything. It's not gonna be about weight loss diets or anything like that. It's literally about how to optimize your gut and make sure that you are on point with your nervous system, your vitality. And that's where my partner, who's a nutritionist, will come in with a little Q&A. We'll see how we will organize it, but there's a whole week where you will get access to an actual certified functional nutritionist, where you can ask your questions and receive so much value from someone who's a professional in all of this. It's not just me talking nutrition or anything like that. And of course, we'll have topics like sexuality and relationships, polarities. It's a really beautifully packed 6 weeks that we'll have, and you have almost like a one-on-one support from me, because we will be in a small group and we'll have our community chat, and we'll be directing steering the program according to the group's energy. And of course, there's going to be Kundalini, and there's going to be some Tantra that we'll be practicing, traditional Tantra that we'll be practicing every Thursday to remove different blockages from our system. It's always just incredibly transformative. So if you want to join, DM me or read about it on my website, but I prefer if you just reach out to see if you're a good match for that. These are my messages for today. There was a lot coming up when I was tuning into the collective today, and with the hangman, it's always just about allow yourself just to hang there, but not hang by a thin thread, not that type of hanging, but hang in a place where you're observing from a third person perspective of what's happening for you internally and what's happening around you, and allow it to dissolve and resolve and solve on its own. Try and release your control this month. That's the most important thing, and see what happens in your personal lives, in any stressful situations, and see what this eclipse will bring. All right, those of you who are here live, thank you for being here, and those who are watching this via recording, share your insights, share your comments. I'm always curious to hear what's happening for all of you, and we'll see each other next month again. Bye bye.